Hi everybody, Sam here again with another review. Today it's going to be a pretty short review. I want to cover a platform, so a sort of online marketplace, I guess you could call it, and that online marketplace is called Konker, so Konker, Konker.io. If you've seen the .io domain name, it's usually, or domain name extension, I should say, sorry, it's pretty popular with sort of techie startup type companies. And look, I'm not going to do a long review here, but I do want to talk you through this platform because it's getting some notoriety and it's worth knowing about and knowing what's good about it and what's bad about it. So, what is Konker? It's a place for you to buy and sell digital marketing services. If you sell keyword research or you sell on-page SEO or you sell graphic design or you sell article writing or whatever, you can register a free account and you can sell that service and you can set your price and the product you deliver. So there's quite good flexibility there. And on the flip side of the coin, if you want to buy services, you can go there and buy them too. And I think what Conquer does is it positions itself as being a slightly more, shall I say, libertarian marketplace than something like Fiverr, where Fiverr, I mean, especially its early days, Fiverr was all about those $5 services. I will, photograph myself with a silly moustache on and holding a sign with your name for $5 or something stupid like that, or I will write you a 250 word article for $5. Of course, now you've got gig extras and different price services and all that, and that's just the platform evolving with the requirements of the sort of marketplace. But Conquer, there's not restrictions. There are gigs that are a few dollars. I mean, and there are gigs that are hundreds of dollars on Conquer. I mean, it's free to register, whether you're a buyer or a seller as well. You just go to Konker.io and sign up. And yeah, as I said, it's all focused on digital marketing services. So the sort of things you would normally need a VA for. And look, there's a good variety of services on there as well. There are some good ones that I've used. In terms of link building, citations, things like that. If you're the kind of person who say sells a service to a client, let's say you're a social media marketing guru and you've got some clients in that space, and then they say, oh, what about doing some local SEO for me? Well, you could trundle over to Conquer and buy yourself if they're paying you 500 a month for SEO, you could probably buy yourself a decent package of gigs that you resell to them for $100 or $150. But that's a discussion for another day. What I want to focus on really is the sort of, I guess, the good things about the platform and the bad things, because that's really what I'm all about. So good things about the platform: a lot of flexibility for the seller in terms of the services you provide, and that results in a good selection of services if you're a buyer. So, I think Conker's done a pretty good job at that. The other thing as well is that you can get paid by PayPal as a seller. That's nice. Money comes into your PayPal account. Um, you know, it's it's easy enough to get set up and start selling services as well. And there's ranking systems and feedback and all that kind of thing. So it fulfills all the sort of basic marketplace requirements that a service marketplace or gig economy marketplace has got to have. So the good points are the foundations there, but what I want to actually focus on more is the bad points about Conker. And the bad points about it really are that it's very buggy. Whether you're a buyer or a seller, there are a number of bugs that occur on this platform with way too much regularity that are they're concerning, because if they were ironed out, it would be really, really good. What you have to remember with Conker is it's an updated version of the old source market. So Alex Becker, you might have heard of him. I'm not going to go into people's opinions on him. Some people love him, some people hate him. I think he's very good at what he does. But he set up Source Market. I actually started out on the old Source Market. And then he, for some weird reason, rebranded it to Conker. And I don't really get why, because Source Market seemed to work pretty well. Conker promised a whole load of new features, but the flip side of the coin is it often seems pretty broken. And I want to run through some of the bugs you might expect to see, because they can be quite frustrating and almost disturbing in some senses. So, bugs I have personally experienced. Just the other day, I haven't sold anything on Conquer in quite some time. I've sort of moved away from doing lower value services. Really, if you want to work with me, you've got to spend probably upwards of $1,000 to get in front of me, unless you're a client who's been grandfathered in on an old sort of platform or an old old service that I offer. It's not to say I don't want to do. There's opportunities I can see for lower priced services with a faster turnaround time as well. So anyway, that all aside, I haven't sold anything on Konker for probably 6 months, maybe even more like 10 months. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I was browsing my PayPal account the other day, and suddenly there was a few transactions for money flowing in and then one for money flowing out. I didn't recognize. I had absolutely no, uh, the amounts I was receiving and paying out didn't seem to make any sense to me at all. It wasn't a payment I was expecting to come in. There was no payments I was expecting to go out. I've got a good track of what comes out, on a regular basis, such as my FP Traffic subscription or my theme shop subscription or anything like that. So I thought, what the heck can this be? And I went through all my email addresses looking for receipts and everything. And in the end, all I was able to do was go to. I found the buyer email or the payer email in PayPal for the person who'd paid me the money, and I emailed them. They're a business on the other side of the world, never heard of them before, and I said, hey, look, don't want to alarm you, but I think some money of yours has wound up in my account somehow, and I want to pay you that money back because I don't want to take money off you for free and get into trouble. And he came back and said, oh yeah, this is weird. I've had a bug with my Konker account. I was trying to buy a service off someone else, and obviously what's happened is he's tried to buy the service off me, or no, sorry, buy the service off someone else, and then somehow I've wound up getting paid, and it wasn't even an amount for a service I've ever offered. It was just crazy. There was just it's basically like money was just flowing to the wrong person. One of them might have lined up with one of my services, but then it got even worse because I can't log into actually shut down my account. So this is a bad bit of password security, but for this particular account, I had an email address I used, and I had a password that I absolutely 100% know off by heart. I know I'll never get it wrong. Even if I had a frontal lobotomy, I'd still get this password right. Um, and I went to type that password in, and it just said account not found. So, oh, sorry, no, account login details not valid. So basically saying either my username or password was incorrect. So I then went to reset my password and I entered the same email address, and it then said, "Oh, your account, we can't find any record of this account." Even though I could still go on Konker and find my services for sale buried away at the bottom of a category somewhere, and I could click into that profile. Um, so yeah, look, it's pretty. That sort of thing's pretty worrying because there's a guy on the other side of the world who, had about $100 taken out of his PayPal account that wound up in my PayPal account, and I'm on the hook for giving him the money back. I look bad. He looks bad because he's spent money for nothing until I gave it back to him, which I was always intending to do. And it's just a worrying scenario. And some of the other bugs with Conquer, if you go in the private members group on Facebook, there's a lot of issues with it. There's been even a case, I believe, where someone actually managed to hack the whole site so that basically every PayPal transaction for a reasonably short period of time, but it took a while for the developers to notice and for the other people to notice, that basically everything was being siphoned into this guy's PayPal account. So if you bought a service, the service provider, they would receive a notification that a new order had come through, and they would probably start working on it, but the money never arrived in their account. And then there was a whole lot of to do about, would those orders be cancelled and would people be, sort of on the hook for money and all sorts of things like that. And in this day and age, that sort of thing shouldn't be able to happen. If a hacker hacks the site, fair enough, they might bring it down, they might put up you know, they might, you know, hack an image on the homepage and say, "Come check out this," or something like that. But if you can't run a platform so that people's private PayPal's can't be hacked, well, I don't know whether you should be running it. And there are other little bugs as well. Things not saving. I've had a couple of gigs that are still pending on my order list because someone's paid me, and then for some weird reason I can't message them and I can't find out any other details about them either. Because of course, like Fiverr, Konker has this system where you're not supposed to try and communicate outside of the sort of delivery system, so you can't take your regular customers off Konker and work with them and bypass the fees that they'd be getting. So Konker, is it worth using? Well, there's actually a lot of really good services on there. I think for like SEO and digital marketing, the services are better than what you'd find on Fiverr. The issue I've got is the bugs. It really does feel like something that's sort of either been put together by some cheap, sort of, I guess, offshore, development house that doesn't really care, or it's just a case of careless sort of almost afterthought on the part of the people who've created it, which is a shame because I think Conker could be really, really good. I think the name's stupid as well. It just, Fiverr makes sense because it was all about $5. Source Market was a little bit more, market that's in the name. Conker spelt incorrectly. I don't understand it, but whatever. But look, I mean, there's potential for it to be a good marketplace, but the bugs need to be ironed out. And I just have a sneaking suspicion they won't be. I think it will gradually die the death, which is a shame because the ability to pretty much sell the service in the way you want to, like minus the restrictions you get with something like Fiverr, is really good. So in that sense, they're to be commended for trying hard to make a much more innovative platform. It's just those kind of bugs, anything that involves people not getting paid or people paying too much or people's money going missing. No, you have to stamp that out, and that has to be fixed. Um, or even things like accounts being lost. I've got a level 2 account that, really good feedback, all positive feedback for all the gigs I'd ever done. I made probably a couple of grand through there, doing some little side services, and I can't get into it, and the support seems pretty useless. So, yeah, well worth well worth checking out, but do be wary. Those bugs are annoying. I'm not going to recommend it in the sense that it's the greatest thing ever, but I think if you can work around the bugs, there are some pretty good services for sale. Things like PBN links and um, you know other little services like little citation packs and things that are quite good. So yeah, Conker.io. I'm in two minds. Bugs are bad. It feels unfinished. It feels unpolished. There's a nucleus of something very good there, but you do need to be wary.